All right. Hello, everyone. This is Jerry Senior with Jerry Junior,
Morning.
and we wanted to make a video. Hopefully, it won't be too long, but about sort of what's happening right now on the current entertainment landscape. One of which is regarding Anthony Mackie. I'm sure many of you out there have heard about his comments recently at a press junket where he said something about what Captain America represents. And based on what he said, a lot of people are not happy about what he said and what they think he may have meant, right? And I wanted to say something because I see a lot of, obviously, it's the typical rounds of, YouTubers and, influencers commenting about it. And, rage bait and clickbait and all that stuff. That's all out there, unfortunately. And it's interesting. I've seen some interesting takes. You got the typical takes, which is, oh, they're woke or he's woke and all this kind of stuff, liberal. He hates America and all this kind of nonsense. But then the other side, who, they're trying to sort of defend what he said. It's, in my opinion, it's kind of just as bad because they're kind of gaslighting, and being a bit disingenuous, in my opinion. And I wanted to say something about that because that both sides are bothering me, right? Both takes are, in my opinion, are bad, right? And I commented it on X earlier when it first kind of broke, and the point of what I said was, you can argue that he misspoke, right? That he what he said and how it sounds is not what he meant. You can definitely make that argument, and that'd be fair. And I'm all for that. But you can't deny that what he said sounds dumb.
Well,
you know,
I think before anything, I think it's important to get a sense of. I guess my first question is, what is your experience with Captain America, Dad, as a superhero?
well, my experience with Captain America is simple. I grew up watching this character on television first, really. And to be perfectly honest, I rarely read him in the comics. I read Spider Man mostly, and a little bit of Captain America. But my impression of Captain America was created through movies and TV shows. So there was a couple of movies in the '70s that was released, and I enjoyed those thoroughly. Yeah, you look back and they're dated and they're a little campy, but I enjoyed them, especially as a young person. And then of course there's his iterations in animated shows, where generally he was relegated to kind of this guest character. He was never like a regular, and I don't recall there ever being a regular animated series for Captain America. So, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yes, but Captain America for me, um, my impression has always been he represents America. And when you say America, right? Well, what does America mean? That's because his specific quote was, for me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. And he goes on to talk about he represents character and all these wonderful things, wonderful traits, right? And he's not wrong on any of that. But it's that initial statement of America shouldn't be one of those representations. It on its face, it's dumb. It's not a. It's literally in his name, right? And clearly in his mind, and this, I'm not. I don't know what his mind is. I'm only extrapolating and giving him the benefit of a doubt, right? That in his mind, he simply meant America in the sense of the American government, right? American policies, right? Whether it's foreign policy or domestic policy. America in the sense of, how government has operated, right? I can say, sure, he does not represent that America, right? But America also, the term also represents a people, right? And it
Right.
represents the ideal,
The ideal. Yeah.
right? You understand? So it represents a government, it represents a people, right? And it represents ideals, right? These things we aspire to, one of which in primary is what? Freedom, right? Liberty, individual liberty. So that's why my contention is the statement itself is dumb because he failed to account for that dynamic, right? And while he may have meant government or government policy or bureaucracy, right, or imperialism or some other, America has come to represent those things, right, thanks to certain political philosophies, right. America means imperialist and authoritarian, or right, and that's fair, right. You can point to specific historical realities and say at this point but America represented this and this point but when you're saying those things, particularly in the negative, you're referencing government policy in general, right.
Right. So here's
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. So here's the thing, and I guess for context for me, before I say anything, I was introduced to Captain America through the cartoons as well. I watched the original Avengers movies, the original animated movies before they were live action. And that was my introduction to Captain America.
Yeah, from the 90s and early 2000s, right.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that's right.
I did read some comics, but not a whole lot. After that, um, it was mainly through television that I was exposed to Captain America,
Yeah,
television and movies. Obviously, the Marvel, the new Marvel movies, the Captain America trilogy is my personal favorite trilogy of movies outside of Guardians of the Galaxy. And from what I've always gathered personally, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, is that Captain America represents what America should be, right?
right,
Not inherently necessarily what it is.
right.
And there's instances in different comic books where he even, he even, you know, says something similar, right? One of the more popular instances that people like to pull is from Daredevil 233 by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. I hope I said that name right. But and I believe, if I remember, the context is that the government's hiring Captain America to hunt down the Daredevil, and he's talking to some general, and he's like, "Oh, we know you're loyal to uh, your country and the government, whatever." And he says, "I'm loyal to nothing, General, except the dream," while he's holding the American flag.
Right,
And it's a very popular, because I mean, it's the American dream, right?
right.
And you don't even have to go back that far. Just watch Captain America: Civil War, or not Civil War, Captain America, the second one,
Oh, Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Just
Yeah,
watch Winter Soldier. You know, it's Captain America going up against the shadow government, right?
right.
And it's like, even if that makes him look like the bad guy, he's still gonna fight for what's right?
That's
Because
right.
he's not loyal to the government. He's loyal to the people. Even after the thing with Thanos, he's not assisting with government affairs. He's helping. He's counseling the people. He's a PTSD counselor, right? And that's what's funny is that's what Falcon's character was when he met him. He was a veteran counselor. He was a military veterans counselor, which is ironic when you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV series, because like he never actually
Yeah,
exhibits those
that's true.
traits.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. Yeah, he's almost a different character than show.
He
That's a different
is, but
conversation.
that's a whole other can of worms. But I think that a lot of I think that I get that. I think Anthony Man. I keep fucking up people's names. Excuse me. I think Anthony Mackie
Yeah.
was trying to communicate that. I
Yeah,
think,
I think so.
um,
I can give him the benefit of a doubt that he was trying to communicate
but I
those
just think he's wrong.
ideals
I just think he's
and
wrong.
trying to separate the ideals from the term America. But I think that's where the issue is
Yeah,
you can't do that because I mean you can try to do that, but because that's not reality, right? The only thing you can do is what I did earlier, which is you have to delineate the multiple meanings of the term America. That
so I think
America
Cap.
stands
Mhm.
for a government, but it also stands for a people and it stands for ideals, right? These aspirational ideals, right?
Right,
And you really can't separate those. Just like you can't really separate the idea of a Judeo-Christian dynamic, right, from America,
right,
because that's part of its founding. That's fundamental to America.
right.
So
So
that's all I'm
I think
saying is
Chris
you have to
Evans.
clarify that.
Yeah, I think Chris Evans. I think said something similar though, and I think people forget that where
Yeah,
he
that's right.
was like, you could replace his name with Captain Good, and no one would argue with you. And it's
That's
like
right.
that's true, and
That's
that's
right.
true. But at
Right.
the same time, it's like because he has
Well, and to be honest, and that's not controversial because we understand his intent was simply saying this is someone who represent the best of all of us, of humankind,
yeah,
regardless of if you're American or not, and that's fair. But at the end of the day, though, essentially and fundamentally and foundationally, he does represent America, right?
yeah,
And he represents America in the sense of the people and what the people of America aspire to be, right? Just like Superman, right? Now, the only difference is that Superman, the name isn't in he's not Super America Man, right? He's
yeah,
just Superman. But we also understand that Superman represents pretty much the same thing, right? And
yeah,
but like saying that Superman doesn't represent super, right? Like the term
right,
super. Say, bro, it's in the name. He does represent the term super. So if super means really strong, fast, smart, and all these other things, yes, Superman represents that, and he represents integrity and honesty and self-sacrifice and love or whatever else you right, whatever other altruistic and aspirational qualities you want to think of, right? But you can't separate the term from the character, right?
right.
There's a reason why the term is part of the character's moniker because the term explains the character.
Yeah, and I'll
You
be
understand?
honest.
Like
Yeah,
Superman explains Superman, right?
yeah,
Captain America explains the character Captain America or Steve Rogers, right?
right. And to be fair, I think that a lot of the people trying to argue for Anthony Mackie. And before I get into that, I think I should specify that he did make a clarification on his Instagram
Yeah.
as of January 28th, where he says, "Let me be clear about this. I am a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is an honor of a lifetime. I have the utmost respect for those who serve and have served our country. Cap has universal characteristics that people all over the world that can relate to." So that's what he said in
Yeah.
response
And
to.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
And
but
I think that's the gist of what he was saying earlier.
I, but I also think that he was wrong in the sense that you can't use America
Right.
because
That's what I'm saying.
inherently
Yeah.
people, and which goes into my next point, the people who want to separate America, the term America, from terms like honor, dignity, and integrity, uh, they already dislike it. They already hate America. And to be fair, this is just from observing people like online who are like chronically online
Yeah.
and not people in real life. But it's always funny to me when people try to like. I don't have a problem with criticizing America. I criticize America all the time. But I think that when people try to say stuff like, "Oh, America was never great," and America is racist and whoop de whoop, they get a reality check as soon as they encounter a culture that is significantly
different.
different than theirs.
Pretty
You know,
much.
it happened to me when I was in high school. I
Yeah.
went to
Yeah, that's
a
right.
mission trip to Uganda,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and
But it's a different world, right?
it is. There's a lot of nice people in Uganda, you know, but there's also stoning in Uganda. Keep on, this is in 2013.
Yep.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had to watch a guy get stoned to death for robbing a liquor store.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
you know, and I was like, this is this is within the 21st century,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Because the
go
next,
to United Arab Emirates or Dubai, or
yeah,
you're gonna have a lot of similar, similar things. So yeah.
and then even now, you know, there was the whole debacle with the banning of TikTok. I know we talked about it, we don't agree, but like a lot of the people who like were upset, they migrated to um, Red Note. I called it Red
Yeah,
Book
that's right.
before, but I'm pretty
Another
sure,
another Chinese owned
yeah.
media app.
And they were
And
like,
it's
"What
more
Chinese?"
stringent and strict than TikTok.
Yeah, and they're like, "What Chinese people are racist? What
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah,
What?"
yeah, exactly.
And like, and this isn't like American racism where it's like, you know, passive aggressive comments. No, people were just like calling them,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
it's just a different mindset,
yeah,
and it's a bit weird. It's very nuanced, right? Because uh, there are black people in China, and there
there
are many.
are, yeah,
Most of them are black Africans,
right.
and
But they've also assimilated to the culture.
that's that's the point I'm making is many of them are well received by local Chinese people.
Yeah,
They date Chinese women and men and etc. Like there's no, so it's not like what we think of in regards to like Jim Crow. Now
yeah.
there are still issues, right?
Oh, of
We
course,
saw
yeah,
that during COVID they were somewhat mistreated, um, you know, and that's putting it nicely. But
yeah.
but yeah, it's like they learn that the culture is very different, and
But
that's
the
kind of the
main
point
issue
is
though was that it was American TikTokers trying to bring their culture
right.
to
That's what I'm saying. It's
Chinese.
like
It's a
that's kind of the
cultural
point.
issue.
You realize like you have a very special privilege in this
Yeah,
country that really doesn't exist anywhere else,
yeah.
right? Like not
Like
really.
it's
Um,
extremely evident that there are unique aspects that of American culture that don't exist anywhere else, but
right.
also allow people from
Listen,
all over the world to integrate into
yeah.
our culture that
Listen,
doesn't exist anywhere else.
yeah, when you go, if you go and live somewhere else, right? For the most part, I mean, you can argue maybe Europe is a little different and it's closer to America, so maybe there. But you go anywhere else in the world, right? A non-Western country, you're not bringing American values, especially
No.
current day, right?
Yeah.
The modern, postmodern sensibility that exists right now, that's prevalent, that's allowed to sort of permeate American culture. You're not going to see that in those other countries. Period. Like you're not. You're going to have to get with the program because many of these countries, like a Singapore, etc., they're a lot more conservative, and they're not as tolerant of opposing ideas and views, especially when they directly contradict their own culture and their own, sensibility. So it's
But
it's
that
very
should be
different.
everybody though. Like that's not a
Well, it is, but in America, it's tolerated more. You understand? Like you can
I
come
get
here
that.
and literally be a communist, right? And
Yeah.
no one's really going to bother you. They're going to argue with you, they'll debate you, right?
Yeah.
But no one's going to kick in your door and drag you out in the street and stone you to death. They're not, right?
No.
Like because you're a commie. Like that's not going to happen in
Yeah.
today's America. It really didn't happen in yesterday's America, contrary to popular belief, McCarthyism and all that kind of stuff. Um, it's like it's we're it's a bittersweet situation, right? Because it's beautiful that we can express our ideas openly, honestly, right, and without retribution, right, violent retribution from our government, right. At least generally speaking, right. There are exceptions that have happened, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, that's the case, right. That's why when those exceptions do happen, it is found to be egregious and outrageous, right. And we tend to force the government to correct those things. Like recently, a woman, a mother, and a wife was arrested for praying in front of a abortion clinic. Um, you know, I don't know what charges, probably trespassing or something nonsensical. And she was released, of course, once the new administration came in. She was released. She was pardoned. So um, yeah,
Wow.
there's that, right? So things do
Yeah.
happen, but they also tend to get corrected as well, because of the nature of our system and our society, our culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Captain America, and what he represents is very important. He's an icon. Like, he's probably one of the few icons in the Marvel universe, at least, right? Um, you know what I
And
mean?
more
Like,
importantly, he's an American icon.
yeah, but you understand, like, he represents liberty, freedom, bravery, courage, perseverance, all these great qualities that we all should aspire to be. He represents that, and this greatness, right? To push against adversity no matter what, even if it means going against your own government, right? So, and that's what I'm saying when you try to separate the term America and say, well, he doesn't really represent that. Well, he does, right? He represents American people. Like, I'm an American, right? So America represents me. Those ideals and principles that are poured into that word, right, are representative of me and every other American citizen, right?
Yeah.
So you can't separate the term, and that's where he messed up, I think, and not just saying that, but failing to clarify what he meant, right? And his statement afterwards is great, but he still doesn't do a good job of clarifying. Like, just say, hey, what I meant was this, right? Um, and yeah, backtrack.
I feel like
Yeah.
he was able to clarify what he meant, and I don't think at least to me, I think if you were to just take that
I'm
first
talking
part of
about
the clip
his
and be
actual
like, "Oh, you
words.
can't use America," but playing the whole clip, I don't see where I don't. There was no
No, the
confusion
whole
for
clip,
me
yeah,
of what he meant.
you get the gist
I
of
just
what he's
think he was
saying.
wrong.
It's just that's what I'm saying. He's just wrong by trying to exclude the term. That's
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, because the term does represent those things he mentioned, right? But it also represents the people who aspire to those things. So you can't separate that term. That's the problem, right? That's the real problem. The problem isn't gaslighting people and saying, well, Captain America is a person, and it's like, yeah, we get that. That's not what anyone's upset about. They're upset about the way, the actual phrase he used. It's saying that America doesn't represent, right? You understand? It's like, no, he does. That's all it, and that's all it is, just isolating that term. You understand? It's
yeah,
like, no, don't isolate that term. Explain the term, right? Say America, the term represents more than just the government or all the bad things that's happened under the name of the government or America, right? It also represents these good things. You understand? And that's what
yeah,
Captain America represents. So, and that's all I'm saying. It's like it's like a person, right? A person's name is whatever name, Bill. I don't know, right? And Bill made mistakes and lost his temper, or got in a fight and all these kind of things, right?
yeah,
Or had a past of criminality, but then Bill turned things around, and now he's a good Christian man, and he has a family, and he's doing good things and charitable, right? But it's still Bill.
yeah,
You understand? It's like, I'm not going to say, well, Bill, doesn't represent you anymore. Now you're Steve because Bill was his. I say, no, he's still the same person. He did those two things, right? And when you're talking about a country, you can, like, it's hard to separate a person from their actions, right? But with a
yeah,
country, you can separate the actions of a government
Right.
from the people
Actions of the
who happen to
people. Yeah.
live in that country, who
Yeah.
clearly don't condone the actions of the negative actions of a government, right?
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? And that's, that's a lot easier than a person and their past behavior versus current or future behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier with a country because we understand the dynamics of a country, right? In other words, like China is a good example as well, right? They're a communist country. They're run by the CCP, and they do terrible things. It's a terrible government, right?
But they also do terrible things to their own people.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying, to their own
Yeah.
people, even. But at the same time, I don't look at every Chinese person and go, "You're a commie,"
No, of
right?
course not.
You condone everything. No, because they're Chinese people who protest their government. There are Chinese Christians who are worshiping underground for fear of persecution. You understand? Like, clearly, they don't represent all of their citizens, right? So all of their citizens don't condone everything the government does. So I could separate the two, but it's still China.
Yeah.
So if a Chinese person said, I'm proud to be Chinese, you have to ask, okay, well, what are you proud of? Are you proud of your government? Or are you proud of the accomplishments of your people?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it means when someone says, I'm a proud American. They're not saying I'm proud of my government's military industrial complex and their corruption and their bloated budget, and that we're $1 trillion in debt, and we were constantly at war, and we have bases all over the world, and all the interventionism, and we're sending billions of dollars. So I'm proud of that. No,
No.
no patriotic American is proud of any of that. Right?
Yeah.
When they're a proud American, they're talking about, I'm proud of the accomplishments of the people of America.
Yeah.
Right? I'm proud that we're in a country where we're able to, have a rule of law, right? Where we're able to do things freely and live freely and come and go as we please. That we've had all these innovations from these great Americans throughout history, right?
Yeah.
You understand, like we've done all these great things, and put a man on the moon, all this kind of stuff, right? It's like they're proud of those good positive accomplishments, whether
Yeah.
it's collectively or as individuals, right? Sports and entertainment, and you go on and on, right? So, and that should be common sense, you know
Yeah.
and that's all I'm saying. It's like with Anthony Mackie and trying to delineate and separate that term, that's where the mistake was. Say, no, don't do that. Just explain the term, right? Say Captain America represents America, but he represents this dynamic of America, right? He don't represent bureaucracy, right? He doesn't
Yeah.
represent war in the sense of unjust wars, right? But he does represent freedom and liberty, right? He does represent bravery, right? He does represent, yes, war, but in the sense of defending our country, right? Defending the freedom of our country, etc. You follow what I'm saying? Like, we can make
Yeah.
that, and that's all. That's my real contention with what he said was just be clear and stop trying to separate America, the term, right, and claim that somehow America, the term, can't be used to represent good and positive ideals, right? That's a lie, right?
Yeah.
And that's all. That's really where my contention is. It's not about necessarily, like, does he really hate America? I don't believe that. I think Anthony Mackie, I think he does, like what he clarified. He's a proud American. I believe that. I think he is. I don't think he hates this country. I don't think he's non-patriotic. I think he is patriotic. He's always seemed like a person that's very based, right? So, I can give him the benefit of a doubt. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my whole thing was just the actual words he used. It's like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. You should have been a little bit on point and extrapolated that to explain yourself. And really, you should have tried to separate the word. And I know I guess he was in another country and all this kind of stuff, but it's like, all the more so, you should try not to, I guess, not celebrate America. You should do it more. And then say, hey, guys, we believe in freedom, liberty, bravery, courage. And guess what? We know that you do as well. That's what you have in common with our country, right?
Yeah.
That's how you create unity and common ground. right, and not be divisive. You know, it's saying, hey, where can we come and agree? Like, I love America. America is a great country, right? Why? Because of the people, not necessarily the government, right, or these policies, right? It's because there's great people that's come from this country that live in this country, and we represent these ideals. And guess what? We know that you also aspire to those ideals. So now we have common ground, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's my 2.5 cents. Because I'm seeing so much outrage. Like, well, I mean, I think the beauty of this is that it sparked this conversation about what Captain America represents and ultimately what America means and what it represents to everyone. You know, does it still represent these ideals? And I think it does. I don't think they ever went away. The problem is it's become more and more obscured through political meandering and pandering to certain groups, all really driven by politics, right? And that's what's unfortunate about it, you know, and this sort of mischaracterizing patriotism as something that it's not, you know. And then, like with the current president, nationalism, he's a nationalist, and saying it like it's this dirty word, it's kind of like, yeah, but it's a ploy to help harken back to like a Hitlerist type of, you know, um, imagery, and that's done on purpose, right? You know,
Yeah.
so and it's unfortunate because it's quite disingenuous, um, and deceptive, because there's really no evidence, no true parallels, right? So, but it's always the go-to, you know, to demonize your opponents, and that happens on both sides. I'm not even just talking about from the extreme left or whatever, but it happens on the right too. They do a lot of the same things, unfortunately, and it's you gotta stop it. So, but yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why also, it's the idea of the pendulum swinging one way or the other. And generally what's happened in the entertainment landscape, because there is a lot of quote unquote wokeness, right? that's the dirty word now, for entertainment. And so when you get someone that makes a statement like he did, which truth be told, it's an innocuous statement, right? It's really not you know, statement that should evoke very much extreme reaction. But because it's this already sort of hotbed of anti, conservative, anti-American, anti-God mentality that permeates a lot of Hollywood and a lot of these productions, right? Then there's this overreaction when there's even just a hint of oh, he's anti-American, because he tried to separate the term, and it's versus giving it like in a different, 20 years ago, he would have been given the benefit of the doubt automatically. Like no one would, this wouldn't even be they would just go, well, what do you mean by that? And he would just clarify. He would go, oh, okay. And that would be the end of it. Like there wouldn't be this outrage and outcry.
Well, I also think it's definitely the internet, because I feel like there might have been some backlash to it, but
No,
I feel
20
like
years ago, no, there wouldn't have been. Not really.
what
Because
I think
this
the
is
backlash
this
is a
is
lot faster or a lot easier to see because of
well,
the
I
internet.
agree. The social media exacerbates it for sure because it's
Yeah.
quicker, But even in a traditional news cycle, it would have been a blip on the screen because no one would automatically assume that he was anti-American because he's
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, because there was a time when you go back to, I said 20 or maybe even 30 years ago, where a lot of this stuff was ubiquitous. Like no one was looking at black or female actors and actresses from this DEI vantage point. You understand? Like
Yeah.
we weren't. We were just, oh, here's Living Single, and it's a show about single women and men and their dating life, and they happen to be black. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's funny, and they had a lot of white fans as well as black fans, right? Like the same thing with Friends, which is basically kind of a knockoff, right? But you understand? It's like but black people like Friends too. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? Like there wasn't like this DEI
I
like
love how
if
Friends is the knockoff of Living Single.
it was because Living Single aired first, I believe. I believe that came
No,
out.
you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
But I mean, whether or not it was a direct, you have to talk to the cast, right? But people involved. But my
Oh,
point
I'm
was
not
just
upset.
that
I just think it's
it
funny.
wasn't seen as this, even though you understood intuitively. Yes, they're definitely trying to appeal to an urban, African American audience, right? But there was still a great deal of crossover appeal. It's like the Cosby Show or A Different World, or you can name a handful of other shows where, yeah, you have a primarily African American or black cast, but then the stories, the character development, the writing is has this broader appeal where you're like other people, other groups, right, aren't automatically turning off to it, right? They're going, oh, well, that's kind of funny. Oh, I like that. Like there's no lens of DEI, right?
Yeah,
And right now, though, everything is being seen through that lens because it's so prominent, right? It's so out front, and it's basically it's overdone, right? And they're far more blatant in expressing that. Like, I mean, they're practically telling us, yes, we're checking this box, right? The president himself, the former president, right, during his term, literally said, like when he was running, I'm going to pick a black VP. I'm going to pick a black Supreme Court. You understand? Like he's literally telling you, I'm checking a box, right, without any other substantive reason, just black female.
I mean, he also said if you didn't vote for me, you're not
Yeah,
black.
you
So
ain't black, right?
I can't.
Yeah, right. So you understand what I mean? Like it's so blatant. Well, people now, like I said, at one point it was tolerated because it was more nuanced and subtle, right? But now it's become more blatant. That pendulum is swinging back, and the reaction is, well, you could argue overreaction even, right? And I don't mean in the sense of actual tempers flaring. I just mean overreaction, as in thanks to social media, people can respond directly, and they're far more vocal in their response. Right? They're actually saying, "I'm tired of this," right?
Yeah,
And they're using their speaking with their dollars and saying, "Yeah, we're not going to see this movie. We're not seeing the show if it just looks like it's DEI, right?" And that's we've seen that happen with I think it was Furiosa, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, that was a decent movie, right?
yeah,
Um, but it didn't do well. Why? Because people saw it through that lens. So it's to that detriment, to their detriment, right? To that movie's detriment, unfortunately. And there's many other things, right? And it's unfortunate, and that's sort of the what sucks, right? You can argue, well, more minorities are at the forefront and they're being hired, and okay, great, but then at the cost of what? They're working in failed projects, right? They're working in
yeah.
projects that are failing, that aren't resonating with a broad audience, and they're not making money. So who's going to keep casting these people? Not very many, right? Like eventually, it's just there's not making money. Well, are they going to continue to get work? Probably
Right,
not. Eventually, they're not going to get work, right? So it's to their detriment. Also, like it's almost like you're getting the same thing. The very thing you're trying to avoid is what you're creating.
right,
Because there's backlash. People are going to go, I don't want that. you know, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot of talented people. That's why I try to separate the actors or actress from the movie or TV show, because a lot of times they're not one and the same, right? The message that's being pushed forward in the show is not the same as the actor or actress's worldview or
yeah,
lifestyle, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now there's exceptions. We've seen like recently with um, I forgot her name, Rachel Zegler, right, and Snow White. She's made comments, right,
Yeah.
that are very out of touch. So we saw it with Captain Marvel and Brie Larson, right? You know, it's unfortunate, but even so, like their political views of something, right, or their world, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is the story itself, the movie, right? You look at Chris Evans, right? He's pretty liberal, you know, Uh,
Yeah.
but that doesn't stop him from being a great cast for Captain America.
Right.
You understand? Like he's still a good actor, and he still played Captain America very well. Like he was great. So I
Yeah.
don't need him to be an actual patriot in real life, right? I just
Yeah.
need him to play the role well and tell the story. So it is what it is. The same with Anthony Mackie. Like his comments. It's like it shouldn't drive uh the success of the film. But unfortunately, like I said, because it's so overdone, right? We've been sort of inundated and overwhelmed. You're going to get this hyper reaction, right? And it is understandable. I don't blame anyone for like dismissing it and go, well, I'm not watching that movie. And it might actually be a decent movie. You know, you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
we're looking at it through a certain lens, right? First and foremost, that DEI lens. So that automatically makes us go, I don't want it, right?
Well, I don't. My problem with the only reason I'm not excited for New Order isn't necessarily because um, the Falcon, Captain America, is not black or anything like that. More so, it's just he doesn't have everything about his character is tied to um, Steve Rogers. Like there's nothing. He doesn't have any. They never really established a unique character arc for him. So I have no
Yeah, I
reason
agree.
to
Yeah,
watch the
yeah,
movie
yeah, I agree.
because everything that's associated with Falcon.
Yeah, that's the underlying layer of it. Like it's like you get the lens, right? And then even if you remove that lens, you're still getting a subpar experience, right? You're still getting a bad character development, a poor story being told, mainly because the overemphasis on DEI, right? So, a lot of that is an extension of, putting, the proverbial cart before the horse, right? Saying we need to have more minorities. So you just prioritize that and you don't emphasize and prioritize. We need to tell a good story. We need to have some serious character development here, right? We got to make a character that resonates with the audience. All that's on the back burner to we need black, female, et cetera, right? And that's why it's subpar because in the comics it didn't work in the comics either when they passed the mantle to the so-called mantle to Falcon, right? Even though Falcon was kind of a sidekick to Captain America in a few runs, right?
Yeah,
It didn't make sense because a lot of people still were like, yeah, it should be Bucky, right? It should be, and even if that, it actually you shouldn't pass it on at all. It's Captain America. He should just be Captain America forever, right? And then if he stops and he just stops, that's it. There's no more Captain America, right? And
yeah,
that's fine with me. I think that makes more sense. But they didn't do any comics and it didn't work. They didn't sell comics. People didn't like it, right? And they're just repeating what happened in the comics on the big screen. And guess what? People still don't like it, right? So you did in the comics and it failed. Then you do it on the big screen and it fails again, right? Even more so. And that's the problem. It's like, why are you so tone deaf? Well, it's because they prioritize the DEI, right? They prioritize minority first. We gotta check these boxes. Black, female, gay. It's got to be those, and that's the priority, right? And it takes a front seat, and good storytelling takes a back seat, right?
yeah,
And that's because in the movie, I don't think they should have had him pass on the shield at all. And in fact, if they did do that, I think what should have happened was, yeah, Captain America's old. That's fine. He retires. He gives the shield to Falcon, but Falcon takes the shield, and that's the best part of the series is he puts it in the museum.
yeah,
Right? He says, "Yeah, I'm not Captain America. I'm Falcon," and he puts it in the museum. That's fine. I think that's a good idea, right? It's like great, and then be Falcon and just go be Falcon and have your Falcon adventures and develop him as the Falcon.
yeah,
That's what they should have done. So it should have been that's like they titled it, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And if they had just stuck with that formula, like it's the Falcon, and he's teamed up with Bucky, and they don't really get along, and you got this sort of a buddy cop film feel, right?
I mean, that
That,
stuff was pretty cool.
that would have been great,
I
like
mean, when they focused on the Bucky Falcon dynamic, it was it was
it's
a good
actually pretty
show.
good, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean, because they're both friends, both loyal to Cap, right? But one is a longtime friend, right, and the other is kind of fresh to it, and but they all have this in common. They're all soldiers, right?
Right.
And so now you have this just a clash, maybe a clash of worldviews or just personalities. I think personalities would be better, right? And they figure out how to work together because there's this bigger enemy, not a a 17-year-old chick with who drank a super serum but never changed or became super. And we're supposed to be saying, yeah, it was a terrible villain. That's a whole other commentary. But anyway, actual villain, right? And they have to take him down, right? That would have been great. But like I said, they're not trying to entertain us. They're trying to indoctrinate us. So, and that's why this stuff happens, and that's why a lot of people are, audiences are a lot more intelligent than they give us credit for. So eventually you go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't good. So
Yeah.
so you're getting a lot of more backlash. And so when you see a comment like what Mackie said, even though, like I said, I would agree. I don't think he intended to say or mean what it sounds like he said, right? But I just think he said it poorly. It was a dumb statement, and hopefully, maybe he'll clarify it even more later, and win back some trust. But a big part of it too is, and it's not necessarily his fault, and that is the producers, the executives, the writers. They're giving us garbage. That, and that's just whether he made that comment or not. That movie is not going to do well because people see through it and go, "Yeah, this doesn't look good. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right." I mean, technically speaking, you can look at the trailer and go, "Okay, that looks cool, right? Visual effects are decent, all this kind of stuff." But the context of everything is just so off. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Him being Captain America makes no sense. like, why isn't he just Falcon?
Yeah.
Why can't you have this big adventure with just the Falcon? He's a soldier for crying out loud. You know what I mean? And to me, it's insulting because this is a character that goes back decades. It's not like he's brand new, like they just made him up for the movies, right?
No.
He's been around for decades. He's had his own comic run, all that stuff, right? So why is he being treated so poorly as a character? You know, why is he getting sloppy seconds? It's insulting. I don't know. And I think a lot of people, especially black people that applaud this stuff, I don't think they realize that you know, they're really being slapped in the face, you know, because a lot of people are so eager to see a black face on the screen, oh, I want to see black heart people rising up. And it's like, yeah, but you're not, right? You're just getting sloppy seconds because there are great black characters that are on their own great, right? Where's Cyborg? Where's the Cyborg movie,
Yeah.
right? I'm still mad at DC for that, right? We should have got a Cyborg movie. Cyborg is an incredibly popular character. I mean, wildly popular, thanks to Teen
Yeah.
Titans and all that stuff. Why doesn't he get his own movie or series? That sucks, man. Like, that's insulting to just shoehorn him into the Justice League. It's like, that sucks, man. That's another reason why I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
I know there's a Snyder fans and all that, and I understand, like, movies are okay, but it's like, yeah,
The movies are.
they're okay. They're not that great.
No,
They're
I
not good. I
agree.
mean,
I
that's
mean,
my opinion.
I didn't watch the Justice League, so
Yeah. So I mean, it was okay. It felt rushed. Even the longer one felt rushed.
even the longer one felt
Because
rough.
you're trying to introduce 7 heroes in one movie
Yeah, with no
with
prior
none of them.
movie.
Yeah, right. None of them except for Wonder Woman and Superman had their own stand. Like, get out of here, man. It was dumb.
Yeah.
Make individual movies or do a series. That would have been better if they did a series where you can flesh everybody out and all this stuff.
And
And
we
go
do have
multiple seasons, and then
we
after
do have
like
a
the third
Justice
or
League
fourth
series.
season, well, yeah, it's like what four, 3 parts or 4 parts, yeah. But you understand, like flesh it out, and then do a big tentpole movie after like 5 seasons. I don't know, that would have been fun. But whatever. These people, So that's all. I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents in the ring because I keep seeing the commentary on either side defending him or challenging him or disagreeing, and I'm like, well, both of them are just being salacious and a bit disingenuous in my opinion. So with because it's like, yeah, it's not what he said isn't that uh, you know controversial, and also what he said is it is dumb. Like, so don't defend it and be disingenuous and try to characterize. Well, Captain America does represent these ideals. He's a person. He's not. Say, yeah, bro, we get it, but look at what he said. The term America. The term America does represent those ideals, right? So there's no need to separate it or to claim that he doesn't. That's silly. Come on. So that's all. Yeah, I mean, let us know what you think. I would love to hear your take. Agree or disagree. You know, um, it'd be interesting to find out. Maybe see it a different, even completely different. Maybe there's a third way to see it. I don't know. A fourth way, I guess. I don't know. So let us know because I would love to know. Um, am I the only one that's tired of the rage bait and all that? Because I'm not mad at Anthony Mackie, so I don't find what he said to be offensive per se. Like I
Yeah, I
said, I
don't think
just
it's
think it's
offensive.
a
I
silly
just think
statement.
he's
That's all.
wrong. I
Yeah, he's
just
just
think
right.
I
He's just wrong.
disagree.
Like he does
Yeah.
represent the term. Like that's the whole point. So that's all. I mean, but it's clear his intention isn't to disparage America,
No.
the country or anything. That's all I'm saying. Like I don't, we shouldn't assume his intentions are nefarious. I don't think they are. I think
No,
he's
I don't
just
think so.
just misspoke. You know, and that's fine. I'm willing to give him a benefit of the doubt. Because he seems like a decent guy. I don't think he's a great actor. To be perfectly honest, he's okay. No, I'm serious. I
Only ever
saw
seen him in Marvel movies.
he did a movie on for Netflix a few years ago,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of boring.
I've
He
only I'll ever seen him in 8 Mile and Captain Falcon, and that's about it.
Yeah, and him and what's his name, Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Those two guys, they're boring. They're kind of boring actors. I don't know. You know, that's what I'm throwing that out there. Like they're acting here. Like
I just, I just
I think
want you
Anthony
to know.
Mackie is a better actor for sure. He's better compared to
Really?
like Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, he's better. He's a better actor.
Were you not a fan of what's it called? Killmonger?
Yeah, he was great as Killmonger, but
Or
I don't.
what's it called?
It wasn't exactly like this huge range that he.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I don't think he was like
I
pushing it.
like. What about? I
Like
like him
for
in Creed.
example, Denzel Washington in Training Day. That was a great performance because he's never really done that type of performance, right? Like
Yeah.
where he is totally a villain, right?
Right.
And on top of that, he nails it. Like it's completely convincing, right? You're pulled into his world and you believe every word he's saying. That's good acting. That's why Denzel Washington is who he is. But Michael B. Jordan is no Denzel Washington, even as Killmonger. Like you said, Killmonger was just a likable character because he was very contrary to the ongoing narrative, right? Plus, I think his narrative resonated with a lot of people in the audience, right? The idea of colonialism and all this, they called the CIA guy a colonist. Like, that's really a part of what drove that, So,
Yeah.
you understand? So it's not the acting per se. It was kind of what the character represented in that movie. So that could be another discussion we could have actually. So
Yeah.
but yeah, but as actors, I mean, they're okay. But I think Anthony Mackie is better. He is a better actor, and he's done a good job in the MCU for sure, playing the Falcon. So you know, but Even in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was, his acting was okay. Um, it's just he was just kind of boring though. Like it was great at the beginning, the first episode where he was on the mission, right? He was like,
Yeah.
doing the wing. He was at, that was actually really cool. But after that, just I don't know, just kind of got less and less interesting. Like you're like, okay, because I don't know, it just the series, yeah. I hated the way it ended. I hated the speech. Um,
I, I didn't. I've seen a couple episodes. I didn't see watch the whole series. I got bored.
yeah, I watched the whole thing. Um, yeah, it's just like it was cool him getting the new suit and all that, the wings. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I was kind of like, why is Wakanda making him a suit?
well,
Like how? I
well,
don't understand.
I
Are
mean,
they?
I know why, but from a story, from a
Yeah,
story,
that's what I mean.
it
From the
doesn't make
story
any sense.
standpoint, it made no sense. So it's like, why is it, Stark Industries somehow part of this? Or I mean, I would have liked to see, because they already had him interact with Ant Man, right, in the Ant Man movie,
Yeah,
right? So I'm like, well, so why didn't Hank Pym reach out to him or something? You know what I mean? Like, because then they team up again in Civil War, right? Because he's the one that recruited Ant Man.
yeah. My
So
whole
obviously
thing,
there's like a friendship or something, right? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, oh, why? So why didn't Hank Pym? You understand what I'm saying? Like, why wasn't there like, hey, I can improve your Falcon suit? And
my big issue with the show was that they tried to make uh, Falcon's character arc revolve around being black and also being Captain America and racism.
I know,
When throughout
yeah,
the
yeah.
entire, when out through the entire show, everybody, from what I've seen, everybody was really pretty supportive of him,
Well, not only that, but
except for the black guy who used to be
who used
Captain
to be Captain,
America.
right? Yeah, that's what I
He was
mean.
the only
But
one.
not only that, but you're talking about a global event, right? Where millions upon millions of people, hundreds of millions of people disappeared and then reappeared 5 years later.
Yeah,
And you have chaos, right? Because there's, you know, God knows, right? Like your relationships, families, assets, all this kind of, that was kind of what the underlying premise with the terrorists, right?
yeah,
The last things on anyone's mind is racism.
yeah.
You just got invaded by an alien army, right? Half the population disappeared, right? The Avengers literally saved reality,
Yeah,
and you are worried about, Captain America being black. Something's wrong with you, right? And I mean
yeah.
contextually in the story. You understand? Like, literally nobody's gonna be going, man, what about the black guys? Like, man, I would be like, you need to.
Like, we
You
just
understand?
fought actual aliens.
That's like the stupidest, right? So yeah, it's kind of dumb. I mean, I understood kind of why they rehashed it, because in the comics there was a black Captain America and all that kind of. But it would have
Right.
been nice if it was done
But
more
in
like
the
a high tech or
context
homage
of the
versus.
movies, it makes no sense.
That's what I mean. Like it. Why even bring it up in this context? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, versus it maybe being a homage. Like, what if he was snapped away and comes back or something, and he's he's still he's obviously a super soldier, and what if he dons the Captain? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that would have been interesting, I guess, if he was aware of this other Captain America and gave him the shield. I don't, like, it just seemed kind of weird, disjointed, and like, they get approached by the cops right after he visits the guy. It's like you're just pouring in these tropes, police brutality. Ain't nobody worried about that if you've been snapped away for 5 years, bro. Like, what are you doing, Disney? It's like it's so dumb and it's so insulting, right? Why can't you have a lead black character, especially a black man, just be a lead character? And there's no references to these ridiculous tropes that we see play out in reality. Like, how? Because in reality, a lot of black men are living their lives, and the last thing on our mind is a cop pulling us over. I'm sorry, but it's true, right? Not every black man is worried about a cop shooting, and if he is, it has nothing to do with him being black, right? It's like because guess what? They shoot other people. they they shoot people that are black, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's just so insulting sometimes. It's like just tell a story about a man who goes on this adventure and saves the day, and he just so happens to have brown skin. How about that? How about we just treat him as a human being and just tell this story? That would be nice, right? Because you don't see the inverse. You don't see white characters like Captain America, even where he's being painted like I have to deal with racism because I'm privileged. It's like, what are you talking about? I mean, they're doing it now in recent. That's probably why the comics industry is tanking. So it's like, yeah, nobody cares. Just tell a story, man. Tell us a good story. So, but yeah, we're coming on an hour. Um, that's all I wanted to say about it. Is Anthony Mackie, do your thing, but please, think about what you're saying before you say it. Um, and folks, stop being angry at him, and because I don't think he intended what it sounded like. It's not what he intended, in my opinion. So
Well, I guess. Oh, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with what he said or his opinion. I just think it was wrong. And
yeah,
he
that's what I'm
has the
saying.
right
Like,
to.
but
He
I don't.
has a. He has a right to say what he thinks,
He does, yeah.
but we're not obligated to agree with him just because he's.
I agree,
I,
and that's what I'm
he
saying is I
recommends
don't
that.
even think though how it sounds
I know,
is
but you
what he
saying that he
intended.
misspoke. I think he knows what he said. I think he's just wrong. He's not dumb. You
No,
know.
I'm not saying that.
He,
I'm just saying.
I'm
that's
just
my
saying when you
point.
say misspoke, it's like,
No,
oh,
no,
he
no.
didn't
Yeah,
mean
I
to say what
agree.
he
I
said.
don't think it
You
was
know what I
a
mean?
mistake in the sense of I just think what he meant is not how it sounds. I don't think he was saying Americans don't have these ideas, and that's kind of how it sounds though. Is that
That's
America?
fair. That's fair.
That's what I mean. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think he intended that, but that's why I'm saying that he should have tried to separate the term. He should just clarify the term because America has multiple references, right? It can refer to
Right.
the government, to the people, and to those ideals. So that's what he should have done was simply clarify, like he doesn't represent America, the government, but he does represent America, the people, and the ideals that come from America, right? And that's all I'm saying is that's why I say he misspoke in the sense that he didn't clarify that, right? And I think he tried to when he kept going, but it's like, look, be clear, make it plain, right? And you don't have to worry about all this stuff. But once again, I don't, you know, it's not his fault. And if the movie tanks, it's not his fault either. All that blame goes on the directors, the producers, the writers, and everyone who greenlights the garbage that they're producing. That's who ultimately is responsible. These actors and actresses, and I agree, they're not helping if they're saying things that are clearly ridiculous, right? Um, or insulting fans, stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're not helping. But the reality is that a lot of these movies and TV shows, they're doing terrible because they're just terrible, and it's not necessarily the fault of the actors or the
No,
actresses.
no, it's not.
Because I saw another commentary about Rachel Ziegler and Snow White, and I'm like, yeah, she hasn't said a lot of things that are, she said some dumb things, right? But that's
That's a
not
lot
going
of
to
dumb
tank the
stuff.
movie. What's tanking the movie is that it's just a garbage movie.
Yeah,
That's it. That's what's tanking the movie, right? Because if the movie was good, you could see that it's good.
yeah,
Her saying something that's a bit off-putting or something isn't going to stop you from seeing it,
right.
right? It's like you can go back to, like, let's say Aladdin, right? The original Aladdin. And if Robin Williams was a controversial person, right? His
Really?
lifestyle was, yeah, yeah. As a comedian, yeah, he said some things that offended people. Plus, he had a salacious lifestyle. He did drugs and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, okay.
So but still, people loved the movie because no one cared. You
Right.
understand? They were like, "I'm going to see this because it looks good," right? Plus, and granted, yeah, he wasn't like putting himself out there, and but he was a prominent figure. You say that about a lot of other movies, right? I mean, you know, it's kind of like yeah, I don't know. Some of this is kind of new. I think it's because of social media, like you said, the internet kind of makes things like
Like what's kind of new?
the seeing these celebrities say what they say in 4K. You know what I mean? Like and
Oh,
them
well,
actually
yeah.
being bold
I mean,
enough to like post it, you know, versus before it had to be a media junket. A lot of people didn't necessarily watch those things until after the fact. You know,
well, yeah. I mean, the
you know what I
whole
mean, like an
this,
interview or on a late night show,
yeah.
and generally those were always scripted. You know, it's like
Well,
it
I don't
was
know
a
if they were
different time.
scripted, but
No,
that's
they're scripted. Trust me, a lot of those shows
well.
are
I'm just
scripted.
saying, regardless
But
of if they are, is
now it's not scripted as much, and you understand what I'm saying? And
well,
it's
yeah, I
like
know, but it's social media is kind of demystified
that's my point. Yeah, social media has
uh,
made it very different, but
celebrities.
also I think it's emboldened people to share their opinions and their worldviews that aren't really, widely accepted, right?
I mean, that's
Like
true for everybody,
especially
not just
certain things. Like
celebrities.
there's nuance, and then there's just certain things you don't say out loud, right? And a lot of these celebrities, like a Rachel Ziegler and others, are saying things out loud, and it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't say that out loud. You can imply that, right? And they're not good at nuance for some reason, right? So
Well, that's
like
because they're
Brie
not
Larson
paid to
is
be
saying,
good at nuance.
this isn't made for middle-aged white men, right? She's referring to one of her projects, and it's like, yeah, and then it bombs, right? And it's like, yeah, like why are you saying that? Like we get that it's not made for them. You don't have to say it's not made for them, though. You can just say, hey, come see my movie, right? You understand? That's all. It's like, yeah, why do you feel the need to actually say the nuance? Right? They literally articulate the nuance, and it's like, no, you're supposed to not articulate that. And but I think for some reason they're emboldened to just say it, because they think they're, I don't know.
Well,
I
I
think
mean, it's
I
because they
think
think their
from their
their
bubble.
opinions matter more because they're celebrity. That's all it
Well,
is.
yeah, that's
And
part of it, but
recently, what
yeah,
is the thing?
because they have a what's called, everyone has a platform, right? It's their
Right.
platform. Yeah, and part of that is just from their vantage point, right? From their ecosystem, their echo chamber, really, right? Everyone's saying, "Yeah, you're right." Yeah, you know, so they think, "Yeah, what I'm saying is right," so I'm going to say it. And then you find out, well, your echo chamber, your yes men, your entourage don't represent your audience. Like period. Like, yeah, like your
I mean, that's
entourage,
true.
your
I
your echo chamber does not represent the rest of America or even the world. And they're finding it out the hard way with box office receipts and, you know uh, struggling with streaming views and all that, because people are checking out, right? They're saying, no thanks. And like I said, but it's not just squarely on the performers. It's, the burden really is on the directors and writers and executives that are pushing these this agenda, you know and they're just, honestly, these actors and actresses are just pawns. They're not, you know, very few of them are in control, you know.
yeah.
So it, it is what it is. So yeah, but all the best to Mr. Mackey. No hate for me. So, and hopefully, you never know. Maybe Captain America: Brave New World. Maybe it'll surprise us and actually be good.
We'll see.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
Like, but even if it is good, the problem is there's so much good faith has been lost. And that's really what this is a reflection of, is the backlash he's experienced, is that a lot of good faith has been lost, right? And that's why you get this kind of, that's what I'm saying, like people are just kind of tired, like exhausted, like I'm so tired, it's like major eye roll. So even if it kind of sounds like more of that, right? And that's kind of what we got with his statement. It's like it just says enough to make you go, oh, what? And like give him a side eye, right? When in a different context, like I said, I don't think it would have been a big deal. I don't, because people would have naturally given him the benefit of the doubt. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
outside of this vortex of DEI and woke nonsense, right? his statement is innocuous. Like people will
Yeah.
go, "Oh, I think I see what he means. Maybe he means this, right?" It'll
Yeah.
at worst be a conversation. It wouldn't be all this rage bait and where he has to apologize. You understand
No.
that? And that's all I'm saying and that's probably true for even others who have done similar things, right, over the years. Certain statements that may or may not have been taken out of context. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I think outside of this vortex of woke, no one would blink an eye. And like I said, worst case, it's a side eye, like, whatever, right? But because it's just been ramped up in the last decade or so, really, people are just like, yo, I don't want to tolerate any of it now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just tired of this, and yeah. And so now when someone like Anthony Mackie is reaping a whirlwind, not because of his actions. You understand? Like, it's not because of him. Like, he's done this so many times. Like, no, right? I mean, be honest. I think this is the only controversial thing I've ever really heard from him. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, so far
Yeah.
as any type of commentary, I've seen him make comments about other things, but they've been kind of based, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, so it's not like he's like, oh, this guy's always, it's like, no, he's not actually. But he's just kind of reaping the whirlwind because of others, right? Mainly it's the higher ups that are pulling the strings. So it's messed up. So, but yeah, that's all I got. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your support. And yeah, check us out on Saturdays at 10:30, Super Galactic Saturday. And we're gonna try and get some more videos going throughout the week. Get some more Wednesdays going. So yeah, like, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for checking us out. Go to our website, join our email list, and get a free digital comic. Um, and once you get it, read it. Let us know what you think. We appreciate your feedback. So, and our goal is to entertain you and give you something that inspires you, and you know, give you something good.
Yeah.
But that's it for me. I'm Jerry Senior with Jerry Junior. Have a great day.
We'll see you around.